Greetings. I have a question this morning. What would you do after finding out that your husband had one of his women in your home and on your bed? What would you do? I'm Fiona Harewood, author of the book River Never Smooth: Reclaiming Power After Abuse. I'm also a speaker and a life coach. I want to share with you just a little portion of my story this morning where domestic violence and abuse is concerned, but in another aspect, sort of. Many people go out there and they have affairs, but not a whole lot would risk taking their woman or their man into their marriage bed. I experienced that, and what did I do? I forgive. I know I may come under pressure for this. How can you do that? How can you forgive somebody who did that to you? But of course, it didn't happen immediately. Certain things take time, and that was one of them. I want to share with you a little about this incident in my life. It was Emancipation Day, August 1st in Georgetown, Guyana, a number of years ago. At that time, I had a very close friend, and she had just migrated to the United States, leaving her children behind with their grandparents until she could get them with her. So I used to go by my friend and visit her children, take them goodies, and allow them to play with my daughter, and we used to have fun. But then life got busy and I didn't go by for a couple of months. One day my husband came home and he said, "Fiona, I met Mrs. Mackey downtown today." Now Mrs. Mackey was the children's grandmother. He said, "The children," she said, "are asking for you, and she wants to know when you will come by to see them." I thought about it, and I was like, no, I don't think I can go in the near future because I have so much going on. He reminded me that Emancipation Day, which was a couple of days away, was coming up, and I can just take the day out with my 2-year-old daughter at that time and go visit my friend's children. It sounded like a good idea, and I decided that I would go. That morning, I got up and got myself together, got my daughter together, and when we were ready to leave home, it was about 9:30, 10. He was lying in the bed, still had on his pajamas and everything, and he said, "What time are you getting back?" I said to him, "Probably about 5:30 or so." He then said, "Oh, instead of you coming home all by yourself with her, you know, sometimes you say that she does not like to walk when she's on the road and you have to carry her. So instead of you doing that, I can meet you at Miss Mackey or at the car park, or you would say taxi stand, and then we go get some ice cream and come home together." It sounded like a really good plan, and I was all for it, feeling good that he was taking some time out for us. At this point, it wasn't much in his book that he would do that. Anyway, I went to Mrs. Mackey, we saw the kids, we had fun, we watched movies, we did a lot of stuff. But then time flies when you're having fun, so it was time to go home. At that time, it was about after 6. So I'm like, oh my goodness, he's not here as yet. I don't want it to be too dark when I leave, so I decided to make my way to the taxi stand. When I got there, he wasn't there either, so I went home, feeling really tired. When I got home, my mom, my aunt, and my sister, they were on the veranda. We would say veranda, you guys may say gallery or porch. And my mom, I looked at her and she looked a bit worried. Her facial expression conveyed some kind of worry or sadness. It wasn't anger. My aunt, she called out to me. She said, "Hi, Fiona, how you doing? How is that little girl of yours? You guys can come up." Well, I was too tired. My sister came down and she got my daughter. My daughter at that time was about 2. And she took her upstairs. I told them I was going home. My parents lived in a, you would call, 2-family home. So I lived on the ground floor apartment and they were upstairs. So I went home. As soon as I got in, I sat in the first chair closest to the door because I was that tired. As soon as I sat down, I just felt kind of strange and I started looking around in the sitting room area where I was. The first thing when I lifted my eyes, I should see a wedding portrait of us on the wall. When I looked there, I didn't see it. And I was like, did it fall down? And I started looking around, wondering if it fell down, where would William have put it? I didn't see it. But then, glancing down, I had a center table, and on the magazine rack of that center table, I kept our wedding album and my shower book. We had just married probably 2.5 years or so ago. And I looked there and the shower book, neither the album was there. At that point, I got kind of anxious and I got up and I went to the bedroom. I went to my daughter's bedroom first. As soon as I got in, what caught my eyes, her crib, the bed in the crib was rolled and tied up as if though it was not in use. I looked around in her bedroom. I saw nothing for her. No toys, no clothes, no shoes, absolutely nothing. The bedroom was just clear. I went to my room. From the time I hit the door, I realized something. I had left my husband in bed that morning. The bed was well made. He was not the kind who would get up and make up a bed. If I got up before him, I would have to go back and make that bed. Even if it's way in the evening when I got home from work, I would have had to be the one making that bed. So it struck me that the bed was neatly made. I started looking around. At that time we had a piece of furniture in our bedroom. We call it at that time a clothes rack. And we would put on it things that we wore but were not ready for the laundry as yet. Now, I was certain, if not anything else, I had left my night clothes there that morning. Nothing was there for me, only his clothes. At that time, my heart raced, my stomach churned, my whole body became weak, and I began wondering. It seemed as if though the presence of a woman and her child were wiped from that house. But why? I remember the look on my mom's face, and I decided I'm going to go upstairs and ask them what really happened, because there was nothing for me. There was nothing for my daughter. I went upstairs. But before going upstairs, I know we normally, when we bathe, we would leave our underwear, laundered underwear on the rack in the bathroom. I went there, only his underwear was there, not mine. At that point, I went to my parents. My mom and my aunt and my sister had now moved to the kitchen area of the house. They were no longer in front, it was night. And I said to my mother, I said, what's going on? I was looking for Kiana and my stuff and I don't see anything in the house for us. And my mom, that countenance didn't change, but she said, why don't you just go look for your stuff? It's right there. And I wondered to myself, how did she know that? How did she know it was right there? I sat down, afraid to say anything. They're all looking at me. But then my little brother, he was probably about 8 or 9 at the time, he came by and he said, Fiona, when you were not home today, William had a girl in the house. She was there all day. They're not too long left, and she's nice too. She's tall and dark, and she has jerry curl. It were as if somebody ripped my heart from my stomach. I sat there, I wanted to scream, but all I said was, what? I'll kill him. And I believe it was in that same low tone, because sometimes you want to scream, but what comes out is not that. I got up and my mom said to me, do not get yourself into any trouble. Go look for your things. When he left, he didn't take anything with him. At that point, I said to my mom, you mean you guys know what he did? Y'all didn't say anything to him? Of course, my mother had the chance to remind me that they warned me. They warned me ages before. That's not what you should be doing now. You shouldn't be looking to get married at this point in time. Get your schoolwork done. Get your education in place. I didn't listen. Yes, I remained in high school. I completed high school, but nothing else. And I got married. So she had a chance to remind me that they didn't make their bed like that. I made mine like that. I went downstairs and all I wanted to do was kill him. I went to the sink and I got myself a knife and I sat down in the sitting room area, not too far from the door. As I sat there, the vengeful part of me said, as soon as he come in, stab him to death with that knife. The other part of me, that was the part that knew Christ, said, no, go take a shower, calm yourself down, pray. I didn't listen to that part of me. And I sat there, I waited for about 2 hours. Eventually, he opened the door like an ordinary night. When he walked in, he said, I'm sorry, Fiona. I couldn't get to you and Kiana today. Something came up when I heard those lies. Yet other lies. I got up and I rushed towards him, the knife poised in my hand. But quickly he dodged out of my reach. He ran around the breakfast table and we were there. I'm screaming, why did you do it? Why did you do it? My parents live right upstairs. Why did you do it? And I'm screaming, running around the table, and he's there pulling the chairs out. And I'm pushing it in back as we ran around. Eventually I couldn't continue that. I threw myself on the ground and I screamed. I just screamed my heart out. It was a hurt that I don't wish on anyone. My heart pained. A pain that I can even feel a little of it now as I speak with you. And these are years after. What would I do having found out that my husband took his woman into our home and had sex with her on our bed? At that point, I was done. I told him, I said, this is my parents' home. I give you a few days. I named the days, I can't remember how much. I said, you need to pack your things and go. I don't want you in here anymore. A few days later, it was our church camp. And those days we had church camp. Refreshing spiritually. I decided to go to the camp. And I'm glad that I did go. I was opting not to go, but I'm glad I did go. And I met with God in a way like never before. I poured my heart and soul out to Him. I even shared, not everything that happened, but I shared with the entire campsite one evening when we had testimony time. And I shared that my husband did something that I don't think I would ever be able to forgive him for. But I said, that night, the sermon that we heard, it moved me in such a way that I cannot not forgive him. I remember it like yesterday. I could not name the name of Christ and decided I'm going to kill my husband or I'm going to not forgive him for what he did. But you know something? I had all right to let him go, because even the Bible condemns adultery, and it says you can put away a spouse if adultery plays a part in your breakup. I got home after the camp and he came to talk with me. Actually, he brought the pastor to speak with me. I wasn't fully there as yet, and I told the pastor I wasn't ready. I needed space, I needed time. It happened that we came back together. I lived with him 4 years after that incident. Yes, and I did go through a lot with him after that, in spite of the fact that I did forgive him for taking that woman in our home. I did forgive him, but he was good for a little, and as most abusers are, they go right back to what they said they would never do again. That's what he did. So eventually, we broke up. But I'm sitting here to tell you, whatever somebody may have done to you, don't let them steal your joy. Get to that place with God's help where you can forgive. You may not be doing it for them. You may be doing it for you. Forgive, forget, and move on. They're not worth your joy. They're not worth your salvation. Move on. I pray, and my hope is that nobody would experience the hurt and pain that I suffered as a result of what I spoke to you about just now. Don't let it happen. Those of you who are men and have outside affair, stop. It's not worth it. Women with outside affair, stop. It's not worth it. If you've been there and you're struggling to move on, seek God's help and ask Him to help you to forgive. He can help you to do that. Until I will have another video, I want you to subscribe to this video. I want you to share it with anyone and everyone you can get it to. People need to stop hurting, and we stop hurting when we learn from other people's experience sometimes. Thank you.